Okay, coming up, the next guest, surprise guest we have on the show, actually have an interesting statement about the corporation. Our guest argues that if leaders spend more than half of their time on numbers and operational challenges, they miss the boat. So what should they spend their time on instead? Do you know what, Marshall? I think it's time to bring out our surprise guest, which I know you have a really special relationship with.
Look, our next guest, I think, is the greatest leader in the world in the past 30 years. An amazing human being who I just love. Totally biased is Alan Mulally. Alan was the CEO of Ford Motor Company. He was the head of Boeing Commercial Aircraft. When he was at Ford, the stock went from $1.01 to $18.40, 1,837% approval. Even more important, almost 100% approval rating from employees in a union company. Alan, aside from being one of the greatest leaders in the history of the world, and one year he was ranked number 3 greatest leader behind the Pope and Angela Merkel only in the whole world. Aside from being a great leader, just one of the greatest human beings I've ever met. And I think Alan may have some questions for our guests. Alan, I'm going to love to hear from Alan. He might have some questions for our wonderful guests. And now for the BCG
Let's run the BCG minute.
Oh, very good. So hello, Marshall, and hello, Martin, and hello, Tom, and hello, Susan. It's an absolute pleasure to join you on this important conversation. So I think the questions and the comments that have been made so far are really, really important because they're focusing on going forward. How do we all create organizations and cultures and corporations that enable talented people to work together to create value for the greater good for all of us worldwide? And so my first question for Tom and for Susan is, and you've all been tremendous students for your entire life on leadership and the impact and the importance of leadership in creating these cultures that are not only smart, but they're safe and they're healthy to enable people to bring their very best to achieve the goals and the objectives and the visions of the companies. So my first question to you is, what is, in your opinion, and what you've learned in the past and also going forward now, what's the most important role, contribution, and responsibility of the leader of the future to create these environments and this culture that now enables talented people to work together to create value for the greater good?
I think a hasty answer to that extraordinary question would be downright silly. I think we need to look, and again, sorry, because I'm repeating myself. I go back to hiring and I go back to first line promotion. We need people, when people care and when they don't. It's, Susan said one thing about we don't take the soft variable seriously. I said my whole life is 6 words. Hard is soft, soft is hard. The so-called hard stuff, spreadsheets, et cetera, are completely malleable and changeable. The real hard stuff is the relationship, development of people, and so on. So look for it, for God's sakes. You can find it if you care about it. For every damn job, even in a company as big as the ones that Alan was running. That's first up.
Now, Susan, what's your reaction?
Yeah, so I would add to that, there is a reason that emotional agility skills have been named by the World Economic Forum as the skills of the future. When we look at what cannot be automated, what cannot be parceled out, and the skills that are at the essence of adaptability and complexity. They are the skills like empathy. They are skills like compassion. They are being able to recognize this human reality, which is that sometimes when you're trying to be inclusive, that's a beautiful, wonderful intention. But what is it that stops people from being inclusive? It's not their intention. It's that when they go into a meeting, their emotions, they feel undermined, they feel shut down, they're struggling to bring their values forward. And so what closes the gap between intention and reality in organizations, what connects with complexity and what is not able to be automated are emotional skills, these emotional agility skills. They are learnable. They are learnable at scale. They are often seen as difficult to teach. But what I would suggest is that if you look at the history of that view that they are difficult, that history has a very long and checkered history. And if you will bear with me just for a minute, I'd love to explore it because I think it's really important. What we are seeing in our current organizations, in traditional views of corporations, is an intersection of two paradigms that are devastating to human beings. The first paradigm is a throwback to the Industrial Revolution, the idea that humans are somehow machine-like, that you can tell people what to believe and it'll come out the other end and everything will be fine, that we can rule by strategy and by logic. And it only takes a moment to recognize that people with hearts, with souls in organizations are still being called assets and capital and resources. And we start seeing this impact of the Industrial Revolution on our very language in organizations. The other thing that I would say to this is that the second paradigm is the paradigm that is the unfortunate feminization of emotions. What do I mean by that? If you look historically, what we see is that education was open to males. And what was taught in education was logic and sciences and mathematics. And the other stuff, the emotional stuff, was somehow aligned with being feminine. Now, what does this mean? What this means is that in organizations, we have this term, which is soft skills, and the term is really often one that sees emotions as being, the sideline at the periphery. It allows ineffective leaders to be sheltered because those leaders are good at the logic. And the consequences are devastating to our organizations and to our people. We see mental health as being at the periphery. We shelter, as I've said, ineffective leaders. And for our organizations that are trying to evoke innovation and creativity and collaboration, there is no innovation that happens without potential failure. There is no inclusion that happens without potential discomfort. And so a very long answer to a very important question is that emotional skills are the most foundational skills to effective organizations, leaders, culture, engagement, everything that we are talking about today.